This is Geometry, Unit 10, Day 3. This is the homework for page 832. We're looking at the volume, which is 1/3 the base times the height. Well, our base is 5 times 5, because the area of a square is length times width, which are 5 squared. So the volume is going to be 1/3, 25 times 6. So we get 150 divided by 3. That's the 1/3. 150 divided by 3. So we get 50 centimeters cubed. With our cone, we also know that we have 1/3 pi r squared times h. In this case, the radius is 10 and our height is 13. So 1 divided by 3 times pi times 10 squared, which is 100, times 13. So our volume is going to be 1,361.36 millimeters cubed. Next we have a pyramid. We have a rectangle. So it's a rectangular pyramid. We need to find the volume. It's going to be 1/3 the area of the base times the height. Well, the base itself is just 2 times 5. So the volume is going to be 1/3 of 10 times 4. So we're going to get 40 divided by 3, which goes into there 13.33 inches cubed. So next we're working with an oblique cone, and we're still using the same formula. So the volume equals 1/3 pi times 1 squared times 2. There's your exact answer. And then if you multiply that by pi, we're going to say 2 divided by 3, which gives us our 0.6666, times pi, gives us our 2.09. These are meters cubed. There's your best exact answer, and we put it into a decimal. Here we have a triangular pyramid, so we're going to find the volume by 1/3 the base times the height. To find the base, we're going to have to take half of the perpendicular sides, which are 3 times 4. So 12 divided by half is 6. So the volume is 1/3, 6 times our height. We can multiply those to each other. We can divide the 6 by 3. We can divide the 3 by 3. We just can't divide them both by 3. You can multiply the 2 and then divide it by 3, whichever way you want. So with number 9, what they've pointed out for the height of this cone, they've used 15. We're not going to use 15 because that's not the perpendicular height. We need to figure out the height that goes this way. So we've got to use the Pythagorean theorem. 15 squared equals 9 squared plus h squared. 225 equals 81 plus h squared. So when we subtract 81, we get a height of 12. So now we can calculate the volume by 1/3 pi r squared times h. You can take 1/3 of the pi, you take 1/3 of the 81, you take 1/3 of the 12. You just can't take 1/3 of each of those. I'll take 1/3 of the 12. So now we're going to have 4 times 81. So there would be your exact answer. And we can multiply that by pi and come up with 1017.88 feet cubed. For number 10, looking to see what incorrect method that they used, it looks like they used the formula for finding the volume to be half, but it's not half. The formula is 1/3 the base times the height. Since our base is a square, it's going to be 1/3 7 squared times 10. And when we take that, we take the 490 divided by the 3, or multiplied by the 1/3. And that's going to be feet cubed. You got to have the units correct. For number 11, we're working with a pyramid, and we know that the volume is 45. We know the height is 9. We're looking for the value of the base. So a pyramid is 1/3 base times height. We get 45 times 1/3. We still don't know what the base is, times the height. Well, we can multiply by 3 or we can divide by 3, depending on how we want to look at the problem. And I'll divide the 9 by 3. Then I can divide the 45 by 3. So we're going to get an area of 15 feet squared. because the area of the base of a pyramid is going to be a two-dimensional figure, length times width. So it's units squared. For number 12, we're working with another pyramid. 1/3 base times height. So 1/3 of 10 squared times x. But the volume this time is 200. So we're going to get 200 we'll divide that by 100, multiply both sides by 3, and the height would have had to have been 6. Multiply both sides by the denominator. So that would be like multiplying this side by 3 and this side by 3. 3's would cross out, you get 3 over 3, which is a value of 1, 1x. This side becomes 6. Number 13, we know the volume is 216 pi. We know that this is a cone, so we have pi r squared times h. We're looking for the radius, so 216 pi equals 1/3 pi r squared times 18. The 18 is your height. This is the distance from the circle up to the point. So we can divide by the pi to get 216. With the 3, or 1/3, we can multiply both sides by 3 to get rid of it. Or I could take 1/3 of the 18. I'll choose to do that. 1/3 of 18 is 6. So 6 goes into 21 3 times, which is 18, with 6 left over. So that gives us 36. Then we're going to take the square root of both sides and figure out that r is 6, and that would be inches. Number 15. So for number 15, when we're trying to calculate the volume, we're looking at the formula to be 1/2 pi r squared times h. You need to recognize that a number you need to know is the radius. So in this case, we know we have a 60-degree angle with a height of 22. Well, the short leg is half of that. So now I know the radius is going to be 11. The height is, of course, 22. So we'll take our calculator and say 1 divided by 3, that's our 1/3, times pi times 121 times 22 comes out to be 2,787. For number 16, we're looking at a cone. We're pointing to the center of this line, which is our diameter, which is 14. So we know that the diameter equals 14, so the radius equals 7. We're also looking at this angle. I believe it's made by our height, and the side is 32. So we have a right triangle, 32 degrees, and a radius of 7. So thinking about SOHCAHTOA, what's the number that we're looking for? What side are we interested in? We need to know the distance from the circle out to the point. So I need to know this side. So I need opposite over adjacent. This is considered the height. So we're going to use tangent of 32 equals the opposite over the hypotenuse. Put it over 1 and cross multiply. So h times tangent of 32 equals 7. Divide by the tangent of 32 and divide by the tangent of 32 gives us our h value. That comes out to be 11.20. That's just the height. That's the distance from the circle out to the point. So now to calculate the volume, which is 1/3 pi r squared times our height, one divided by 3 times pi times 7 squared times 11.2 comes out to be 574.70, and these are yards cubed. So for number 17, we're looking at a cone. We have 54 degrees here at that angle. We have 15 centimeters for the slant height. What's the value that we're looking for? We're looking for the height and we're looking for the radius. We need both of those numbers to figure out our volume. So from here I'm going to use opposite over adjacent. So I'm going to say sine of 54 equals the opposite over adjacent. Cross multiply. So 15 times the sine of 54 equals h. So sine of 54 times 15 is going to give us 12.14. That's what the height of our shape is. Now we need to figure out the radius. So we're going to use adjacent over hypotenuse. So the cosine of 54 equals the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Put it over 1 and cross multiply. So you get 15 times the cosine of 54. Fifteen times cosine of 54 comes out to be 8.82. So we've calculated both the height and the radius using SOHCAHTOA. So to calculate the volume, that's 1/3 pi 8.82 squared times our height. So 1 divided by 3 times the pi times 8.82 squared times our 12.14. 988.97. Now, for number 18, we're looking at a multiple choice, but we're going to work the problem out. We're working with 29 degrees and 5. What's the side that I need to know? You can't answer the question unless you understand what you're trying to work for. You need to know the height. So tangent of 29 equals opposite over adjacent. Multiply by the h and divide by the tangent. So our h value is going to be 5 divided by the tangent of 29, 9.02. So now we can figure out the volume. So we know that we have 1/3 times pi r squared times the height. That comes out to be 236.14. These units are feet cubed. For number 19, we're working with a cone. They tell us that the diameter is 8. So the distance all the way across is 8. We know that the radius would then be 4. So if the volume is supposed to be 1/3 pi r squared times h, then 143.6. With a radius of 4, figure out what h is. Well, I'm going to take the 143.6 and I'm going to multiply that by the denominator of 3. So I'm going to multiply 3 to both sides. That gives me 430.8. And then I'm going to divide by 16 pi. You need to put parentheses around that, especially with this particular calculator. We're going to divide that by 16 pi. We get 8.57. And these units are centimeters. That would be our height. So we have a pastry bag. It's very much like a cylinder. It has a radius of 4 and a height of 12. It's filled with frosting. Inside this pastry bag we can make 15 flowers. The big question is how much cubic inches of frosting are in each flower. So we're going to start out with volume first. So we have 4 squared times our height. That's going to come out to be 1/3 times pi times 16 times 12 gives us 201.06 inches cubed. Now, that's how much frosting is in each bag. They want us to round it to the nearest inch. So we're going to take 201, divide it by 15, and we're going to get 13.4. So we can get a complete 3 flowers and a bit extra. So how many flowers can be made? No, that's not the question. That's not the answer. It's 13.4, but it is 13.4 cubic inches are in each flower. .4 cubic inches in each flower. I had to know what my answers were standing for. I took my total volume, divided it up into 15 different flowers, and that got us to be 13. We used 13.4 in each one. So let me use that 0.4 in my final answer also. 13.4 cubic inches. We have popcorn that's being put into this cup, and we have popcorn that's being put into this larger cup. We need to find the volume. The volume of the cup is 1/3 pi r squared times h. So here we're going to do 1/3 pi, 9 times 8. 1/3 of 9 is 3. 3 times 8 is 24. 24 pi is our exact answer. When you multiply those together, you could approximate that to be 75.40, and these are inches cubed. Well, when we look at this cup, for number 31, we're supposed to recognize that the radius is the same for the large and regular cup popcorn containers. The height is the same. So we should be able to put 3 of these cups into the large one. Now, for number 32, we're supposed to figure out which has the best buy. If 3 cup size containers equal 1 large size, then the large could cost $1.25 times 3. But it doesn't. So the large container is a better buy if you're going to eat that much popcorn.